Welcome to Erasmus Project, Pathways Towards Inclusion. Transitions from sheltered employment for people with intellectual disabilities into the regular labor market. Identification, dissemination, and implementation of good practice in Europe. Curriculum for Collaborative Inclusive Learning Include3 Method Unit 2, Sheltered Workshops. In this unit, we will show you the structure and the work of the sheltered workshops in our partner countries. That is Belgium, Cyprus, Germany, and Slovenia. All countries have a functioning system of sheltered workshops that goes back to the 1960s or the 80s. All sheltered workshops deliver sheltered workplaces in different branches for people with disabilities and people with other integration barriers. On the slide, you can see examples of different workspaces in sheltered workshops. Sheltered workshops are basically financed by the government or governmental organizations. In Belgium, the sheltered workshops are partly financed from the federal state, 30%, and partly from their own profit, 70%. In Cyprus, sheltered workshops are managed by both certified non-governmental organizations and the government, primarily through the Center for the Vocational Rehabilitation of Persons with Disabilities, CVRPD. In the Federal Republic of Germany, sheltered workshops in Germany are funded to a large extent by rehabilitation providers. The workshop providers are mostly non-profit companies. In Slovenia, the financing of the sheltered workshops is in part provided through governmental subsidies. The staff of the sheltered workshops are in all countries well-trained social workers. In the workspaces, there are skilled workers or master craftsmen with work experience. The organization of the sheltered workshop differs in the partner countries. In Belgium, the sheltered workshops are combined integration enterprises and pay their employees minimum wages. In Cyprus, the CVRPD functions as a national center that organizes the promotion of vocational training and employment of people with disabilities through the programs, including establishment and operation of production workshops. There are also the employment programs and the open labor market. In Germany, people with disabilities do not have the status of employees. They receive social benefits to make their living. Additionally, they receive a kind of pocket money that depends on working results. Sheltered employment in Slovenia involves sheltered companies where at least 40% of employees must be disabled, supported by government subsidies and exempt from wage taxes. Employment centers cater to those achieving 30%-70% of work results, focusing on production and services. The protective work centers, VDCs, offer comprehensive support and integrated employment, where individuals work in normal environments with specialized support, fostering social inclusion and skill development. To get a more detailed impression of the work of the sheltered workshops, please read the corresponding chapter in the national report of your own country. The counseling concept is very important for the Include3 method. The partner countries have different counseling concepts, and it is not always realized in the sheltered workshop. In Belgium, the counseling lies mainly with the DSL, Service for Self-Determined Living, and lasts for 12 months at length. In Cyprus, the counseling services are within the sheltered workshops and lay their main focus on promoting the transition of the person with disabilities into the open labor market. In Germany, there is a duty to provide counseling on the part of social service providers and thus of rehabilitation providers who promote measures in sheltered workshops. In addition, the BA, Federal Employment Agency, the rehabilitation provider and public employment service, is obligated to provide career counseling as well as placement for training and job seekers in the period of the first 27 months after entering the sheltered workshops. In Slovenia, there is one full-time employed trainer per group of 8 persons with disabilities. The counseling process is followed in group psychotherapeutic, sociotherapeutic, psychoeducational measures. The vocational training is an important part of the work in the sheltered workshops. On the slide, you can see examples of training areas in sheltered workshops. In Belgium, there is mostly training in the basic needs like motivation, hygiene, social behavior, communication skills, and independence. In Cyprus, The vocational training is incentivized by legislation and supported through various funding schemes, while counseling services, including the Supported Employment Program, help individuals identify their skills and secure employment opportunities. In Germany, support in the vocational training area of sheltered workshops pursues the purpose of developing, improving, or restoring the performance or earning capacity of the person with disabilities as far as possible. The services in the vocational training area are provided for a period of 2 years. After the support in the first 2 areas, the person passes over into the sheltered workplace. In Slovenia, the process of employment rehabilitation is divided into 2 phases. 1. Evaluative diagnostic treatment, followed by 2. Improvement of social competences, the development of constructive behavioral patterns. For the transition of the peoples with disabilities in the first labor market, all partner countries have worked out concepts to support this process. In Belgium, there are mainly the AP and the AIP program. AP means a traineeship in a company on the first labor market for 1 year. AIB stands for an in-company training for 3 years. Furthermore, there are outgroups, a kind of dispatched labor. Planned is also a mentoring program for companies that employs people with disabilities. In Cyprus exists the so-called incentive scheme for the employment of persons with disabilities in the private sector. It encourages employers to hire people with disabilities, subsidies the employment, offers the benefit of €48 per working day, paid to the beneficiary. The grant is provided for a maximum of 24 months of employment. In Germany, there are various possibilities for transitions, for example, outgroups in companies, internships, job placements. There are also service offers outside sheltered workshops or the budget for work, which includes a wage subsidy for the employer. It is meant to compensate for the reduction in performance, as well as the reimbursement of expenses for the guidance and support required at the workplace due to the disability. Furthermore, there are integration specialist services for the persons with disabilities at the workplace. In Slovenia, 20% of the people with disabilities conveyed to the first labor market. Most of them stay in integrated employment by VDCs and employment centers. To summarize the input, please fill in a quiz about some general questions about the system of sheltered workshops in the partner countries. You have reached the end of Unit 2, Sheltered Workshops of our Self-Learning module. In Unit 3, you will learn more about communication skills.